certainly that class, a class above with ELP and Kyle O'Reilly in it.
I'm a big Kyle O'Reilly fan, and I'm becoming a big Speedball Mike Bailey fan tonight based on this performance.
Axe kick by Bailey. The educated feet giving ELP a painful lesson. Oh! Running shooting star press misses. Back kick by ELP. He's showing he can kick. Step up Enzuguri by ELP.
I don't think you want to match kicks with Mike Bailey, but can't question ELP. I've got him a little bit ahead on points right now, Mauro.
Enzuguri, of course, the brainchild of the legendary and late Antonio Inoki. Now into the Argentine backbreaker. Bailey lands on his feet. Bailey with the beautiful Hurricane Rana. Reversal by ELP. RPK!
Oh, my goodness. Watch out now.
Standing moonsault, double knees, but he crashes into the shins of ELP, and you can hear Bailey screaming in pain.
It's interesting to me because with the Muay Thai training that Mike Bailey has done, those shins are calcified, but that just goes to show the impact of that maneuver and getting caught. Yep.
And let's take another look. The standing moonsault into the double knees, the timing of ELP.
If you've ever been kicked in the shin, you know what that feels like. Times it by 100, and that's what Mike Bailey's feeling. Might have fractured his tibia.
And both of them are unable to stand. I mean, that was bone-on-bone impact.
Horrible.
Let's listen. But they definitely cut each other down. Oh no, Bailey unable to put any weight whatsoever.
That might be broken.
And ELP forcing him to stand, but not for, well, I was going to say not for long, but Bailey using that middle rope to keep him up.
Go right back to the leg.
Target the attack on
Chop
the
block.
injured part of the body. The chop block. Oh, beautiful windup on that final forearm from Speedball Mike Bailey.
And that left leg is his plant foot when he does those roundhouse kicks. So I don't know how he finishes this match in the way that he would like to.
And Bailey really does have the propensity to strike with sudden impact. Like that. Oh! My God, what a hard-hitting affair and battle we are seeing between Mike Bailey and ELP.